we'll jump in. So for today, I'm going to cover just some introductions about myself, talk about the procurement process that we have at FHLB Chicago. We'd like to call ourselves the bank. And then talk through just some helpful hints and ways that I can share with you all to potentially have a sourcing opportunity with the bank. So first up is just a little bit to get to know me. Again, my name is Monica Doyle. I'm the Vice President and Director of Strategic Sourcing and Accounting. So I oversee all sourcing events, third-party risk management, as well as our accounting team and accounting operations area at the bank. And with that is supplier diversity. So I lead supplier diversity from a functional perspective of how we include diverse suppliers. I also lead supplier diversity as it relates to internal staff training and in areas like this. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that coming up. I have been with the bank, FHLB Chicago, for just over 18 years. 2023 will be my 19th year with the company. I've had a variety of roles, in large part within the accounting space, moving into third-party risk management more recently. But I've had the opportunity to work at the bank for quite some time. A little fun fact about myself, and maybe a lot of you all, I am a lifelong Chicagoan. So if you hear me say a particular word, I'm sorry, I can't change it. It's just how I talk sometimes. Lifelong Chicagoan, born and raised, and enjoy this wonderful city we have. But serendipitously for this week, right, I am made for summer person. So seeing the weather reports coming out later this week, I focus on the fact that tomorrow is the winter solstice. And after tomorrow, we start getting more daylight in our days. So begrudgingly, I am a lifelong Chicagoan who loves summer. So I focus on winter solstice tomorrow and adding those seconds, which grows into minutes over the next month. So we all got to find what motivates us some days, and that is it for me. Also, a little fun fact about me, my favorite place to visit is Washington, D.C. I love going there either myself or with my family, seeing all the monuments, all the history that's there, and just it's a wonderful place to learn so much and engage in our history that I just really enjoy going and spending time there. So it's one of my favorite places to go and learn. So let's jump in. So now that you've heard a little bit about me, let's talk about the bank. So the bank is sometimes hard to describe and is, I think, an important part, in partnering with us is understanding what we do and why we do what we do. So the Federal Home Loan Bank system, so FHLB Chicago, is one of 11 banks across the United States. So you see that we're that dark green color, but you'll notice all those other shades. We have a territory that covers Illinois and Wisconsin, and then our other 10 sister banks, as we like to refer to them, have territories throughout the United States. We were chartered by Congress in 1932. So this year, it was in July, I believe. Over the summer, we had a big party for our 90th anniversary to celebrate the company of 90 years of existence. So our mission, though, is to support home ownership. And that is really what we do day in and day out. So anytime we bring in a supplier, it's fundamentally tied back to how do we support our mission, which is home ownership. Next up. So what do we do in order to fulfill that? We are a bank for other home loan banks. So we've got this, fun little picture here. But when an individual consumer goes to maybe a local bank and they want to take out a mortgage, they're going to borrow from that local bank and be able to purchase that home for themselves. There are times when those local banks do not have enough cash on hand in order to fulfill all those people coming to their local branch to give them out those mortgages. When that happens, those local banks have a variety of places that they can go to get additional funding, one of which is the home loan bank systems. And so FHLB Chicago, we are a bank for other banks. Our customers are other banks. So we are unlike a traditional commercial bank that we all bank with, right? Day in and day out, we do not have any individual consumers as our customers. Banks are our customers. Next up. So the system is comprised, we have these members, right, is what we like to call them. So those banks come in different forms. They can be traditional Federally insured depository institutions, that's a typical bank that any of you may know and work with. Again, insurance companies, credit unions, and community development financial institutions. So our members come in different forms, but they're effectively a lender, a bank of sorts, and we provide funding to them. So let's take a dive into why we're here today. So the bank at FHLB Chicago, we do proudly support diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our framework at the bank is an overarching one. We have a strategic plan for our entire organization. Within that, there is a specific strategic plan built out for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And within that, we have 4 pillars: workforce, community culture, and capital markets. Those are our financial transactions that we deal. And then today we're going to talk about supplier diversity, which is the area that I lead. Supplier diversity, as we define it, it's a business strategy to ensure that we are having a diverse supplier base in the procurement of goods and services. We try to be inclusive of diverse-owned businesses in every procurement activity that we do at the bank. We actually don't have dollar thresholds. We have what I like to think is a practical approach. You should try every time and make sure that we're giving our good faith efforts towards those activities. We do work with a variety of diverse suppliers. Our Chief Diversity Officer at the bank, I like how he says it, so I'm going to borrow it. I've learned from him. We like diversity within our diversity. So we strive to engage with all types of diverse parties and really pride ourselves on making sure that we're engaging with all the different communities that we live with and work with, especially in Chicago. We're fortunate to work with and live in a very diverse area. We want to make sure that we're expanding that reach as far as we can. And today we're talking with the LGBTQ community. So supplier diversity, as I mentioned, part of what I lead for the bank is certainly operational sides of what it is, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can engage in that process. But I'm also responsible for setting up our strategic initiatives at the bank for supplier diversity, which is a wide range. So first up, one of our goals this year, and we're going to actually launch it in January because we spent the year developing a plan, producing events that improve the cultural competence of our employees and engaging our staff and new hires. Like many organizations, we've had a lot of turnover here. We also have a little over 500 employees. A lot of decisions about sourcing and supplier diversity start with the direct manager. It is important that we're always supporting those managers and understanding what is supplier diversity, what's expected of them, and how they can get support. So early next year, we're going to be launching a video that we're going to be requiring all of our employees to take. We do that periodically, and given all the change that's occurred, it's a good time to do it. So we spent a lot of time this year revisiting of what that content was going to look like. Second item is optimizing spend with diverse vendors and having reporting available to make data-driven decisions. A lot of organizations, I think, really emphasize data-driven decision-making. It allows you to be informed about the actions that you may take. For us, when it comes to diverse suppliers, it's understanding where am I spending my money? And tell me the makeup of those suppliers so that as managers, people can be thoughtful to say, as they go into another sourcing opportunity, is there an area they can really focus on, right? And being really aware of where they're spending their money. Number 3, promoting DE&I success in our external channels and developing a communication plan. It is not lost on me, even after nearly 19 years, that people do not know what the Federal Home Bank Chicago does or where we are. We are located in the old post office building. That's where I am today, 433 West Van Buren. But it's not lost on me that people don't know who we are, what we do, or furthermore, how you can engage with us. And having a strong, consistent social media presence is one that's important. We spent a lot of time this year working on that. And I'm really excited that we've had a lot of progress in that area. And number 4 is engagement with partners, folks like you all, in events like this. Again, in the same vein of having a strong and positive social media presence, events like this are really important. It's a way for you all to hear from me what we do and hear from me how you can do business with us. Next up. So let's jump right in. Our vendor sourcing process. So this is facilitated through my team, but I want to talk about just a little bit about how that process works for us. As I mentioned, our staff across the organization are where decisions can be often started and made. And so that training that they do is really important for them to understand the process and what resources we have available to ourselves. But a business area identifies a sourcing need, and they will start a search for qualified diverse vendors. Now, sourcing needs range. That can be a one-off purchase, a recurring purchase, a small RFQ to a huge multi-million-dollar RFP. It's anything and everything in between that. So I'm just going to generalize it a little bit right now. But they have a need. They determine really, along with our vendor management team, what's the size and scope of this event. They define the requirements for it. And again, those can range certainly. Where we're available to, we post our social media on our social media channels. We post those opportunities. I'm going to show an example of that in a minute. And then ultimately through, again, if it's certainly an RFP, also to some extent for an RFQ, there will be a bidding process and the ultimate vendor is selected. That decision is ultimately made by the business area. They're always going to be looking for the most qualified vendor for the best price, but quality is many factors. It is the actual work that's being done, whether it's a good or service. Are they ready to perform the work? Are they nimble? Do they have the right skill set? And is it at a fair price? Within the supplier diversity process, that's really embedded in posting and defining your sourcing opportunity. The vendor management team assists then with performing a search. So sometimes, again, best case, our business area comes with a list of diverse vendors because they've been paying attention, they've done their training, they've done research on their own, or they know key players in this space that they're looking that may deliver a need for the organization, and they come with a list of diverse suppliers. So we take what they bring. We also will conduct our councils that we work with to let them know, hey, we're looking for XYZ service. Do you have any potential suppliers that might meet that need? We will also post things on our social media, as I mentioned, and we have a registration portal. We'll look through that list and see any potential candidates. Now, all those in, not everybody's always the right fit for us. That's okay. The team will go through that list and they'll perform a kind of quick due diligence to say, is this a good fit? That may mean reaching out to the vendor to get a clarification. It may mean looking at a website to further review the good or service that's being provided. But just additional sort of quality control check is performed. And then a group of potential vendors or suppliers is selected at that point, and then the process begins. Again, whether it's an RFP or an RFQ or anything in between that. Next up, so social media. So this is one way that you can find out about us and find out about potential opportunities. On Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, the image is going to be quite similar to that sort of computer with little hands there, and a small couple bullet points of what the potential opportunity is. You're also very consistently going to see a link with more detailed information on our website. So that bolded FHLBC.com/vendors is where you're always going to see the full detail of the information. But following us on social media, watching for those graphics to pop up is going to be a really quick way to find out something, most importantly, very, very timely. And I'll get to that in a second. But all three are the same. So if you have a favorite, pick your favorite, or all three, you're welcome to do them all. Unfortunately, I did not get the mirror of the image before. I grabbed a screenshot at the wrong time. But if you follow that link, it's going to take you to our external website. And it's, again, the link is right there, but it's also always going to be in that social media post. So don't worry about that. And it's going to list the vendor sourcing opportunities. In this example here, there are none, but where that yellow bar is, you're going to see a lot of content. That content's going to describe the opportunity, some key requirements perhaps, and also very clearly the timelines that we're working under. So if you do see a potential opportunity, you're not really sure, I don't know if that's me or not, I would always encourage you to check the link, and right here, you're going to find out more information. Next up. I mentioned the couple ways that we find diverse suppliers. And as I did, I mentioned that we have a supplier registration portal. This is also on our public website. So our main public website is FHLBC.com. That's where you get the sourcing opportunities. It's also where you can do the supplier registration. It's also all on that same page on our website, but be part of our database. So this is an opportunity to just provide your information for not any specific sourcing opportunity. It is to be part of our list. And again, as I mentioned, what we'll typically do then is go to that list, review for the different commodity groupings that may match the sourcing event. And then we will likely do some additional quality control. But if you're interested, you're welcome to sign up on our supplier registration portal. And also, I really very much encourage to help improve that quality control process. Encourage you all to attach a capability statement. I'll give a couple examples of ones that I've liked in the past. On the next slide. So those capability statements. So here's an example. I think the next slide I have a second one. But a very single, succinct message, right? That has core competencies, expectations, right? What we do, information about maybe past examples, websites, and also a clear, this is a one from WeBank, so a women-owned organization. But you'll notice on the bottom right, they've got that certified by WeBank. So as a partner with the chamber, I encourage you to make sure that that's very visible so that any potential company like myself is able to see that information without having to look for it or have to really confirm. You will still get a confirmation request later, but at this early part in the process, we want to make things as easy and as readily available to people who might be making decisions and want this information quickly for them. So if you don't have a capability statement, or if you do have one, take a look back at it. Make sure, does it clearly have core competencies, examples of work, and clearly indicate that you are a diverse supplier? I think those are some of the key things, and you should attach that if you do. That will help in that quality control process. Next up. So inside perspectives, establishing a relationship. I want to talk a little bit about this. So sourcing opportunities at the bank, they come and go all the time, but there are times certainly where we do multi-year agreements, which means that opportunity does not come up all the time. Some opportunities may come up only every 3 years or every 5. Or I like to give the example, our space that we're in here at the old post office, when we moved into it, it was a construction project, which we don't do very often. We had been in our prior space for maybe 14 years. So construction was one that we do not do very often at all. But needs arise periodically. They're based on what the business needs, but then also when those needs come up, we will at times engage in multi-year agreements with our vendors. So realize that things, don't come up all the time, and be understanding that finding a good balance of persistence to maintain your network is important, because it might not be a today, it might be a tomorrow. Our non-disclosure. So we are a regulated entity. And we do most often, when we engage with suppliers, request that a non-disclosure agreement be signed. The non-disclosure agreements that we have are as standard as they can be, being a bank, as well as a regulated entity by the government. And there are certain requirements that we are contractually required and regulated by in order to maintain in our contracts. In our non-disclosure agreements, if there's areas that you're not comfortable with, and you do come back with red line, I would say, be very thoughtful about that. If we go out on a sourcing opportunity, there's 10 vendors and 9 of them sign the NDA with no edits, but 1 does, we'll most likely pass on that one. Because having areas where a vendor is not able to agree to certain conditions in our contracts can put us in regulatory violation, and is not something that as an organization we can accept the risk of. So I would be prepared for a non-disclosure agreement and be prepared to accept the terms that are within it. And if you're unable to, again, it may not be then the right opportunity for you, but something to consider. Next up, pricing to bid. So, I understand that, organizations range in size, and when finding opportunities, the costs can certainly range on an activity performing. I would say making sure when you're in a sourcing opportunity to really understand what the needs are. We've had instances, not an abundant amount, so I think this is can at times be a misnomer with diverse vendors that they cost more. I don't think that's the case. Certainly don't think it's a rule. But it certainly, it does happen on occasion. And I've found that at times it's because the vendor didn't fully understand exactly what was being expected of them. So making sure that your pricing pricing your bids competitively, making sure that you really understand the scope of work, asking questions. There may be calls that are done during the bidding process. Engage in those calls. Even if you don't have questions, you might hear something from another vendor that may inspire you to change your bid, right? And be more articulate in what you're offering for what price. Considering the use of subcontractors, now we also encourage use of subcontractors with non-diverse vendors because we do support tier 2 spend within our organization. But in this case, you all would be the tier 1 vendor. So considering your use of subcontractors and how it may impact your business and impact your price on the bid. If it is using subcontractors, there's additional contractual requirements that come with that. And that may just be an area that I would ask, is this an area that you are, a core competency for your organization? And if that's not the case, I would, again, consider what that means to what it does for your business and what it does for your profit margin. And then ultimately, time is limited. So those sourcing opportunities, why I really stress following us on social media. It takes you to the link to our public website. Sourcing opportunities sometimes can be very quick. It is not uncommon to say, it's a bad example, kind of going into a holiday week here, but let's say we posted something today and it would say, if you're interested in participating, respond by next Friday. Not a long window in order to let us know. When that door closes, it often will close and stay shut, where we don't entertain any potential others. So being mindful of the timelines, acting quickly if someone is on the vendor management team reaching out to perform that quality control check, right, where they might just want to understand your services a little bit more, making sure that you follow up on that as quickly as possible are all reasons of why you may or may not even be included from the onset. So just being really timely with follow-ups and action items is quite important in this process. Next up. So I started this call with, the same ways I'm going to end. So we are committed to diverse supplier inclusion in all of our sourcing events. We don't have dollar thresholds. We want to select the best vendor, and the best vendor often can be a diverse vendor. And so being inclusive all the time is the best way to get the best vendor. And that is what our goal is. When we look at our potential vendors, we are going to often go to the website. That business manager who's making the decision may go to the website. Having a website that clearly summarizes your services, clearly identifies your diversity status, core competency, how to contact you without too many clicks is really, really important. I can't stress that enough. Realize that there are times that managers or the vendor management team is looking at 10, 20 vendors. They're going through it very, very quickly. And so if those assessments of what you do, your status, how to contact you are not visible within 1 to 2 clicks, that can have, a less than desirable outcome for you. So I would definitely take some time to just evaluate that and ask yourself those questions for your website. Our payment process, I'm always very proud of. It's a team that I oversee. But we can pay in less than a week. We certainly pay quite quickly. Our standard contract is going to be a net 30. So as soon as we get invoices, we process them every single week. Our standard is to pay electronically. We want to make sure that we get our bills paid and to you all as quickly as possible. And that is something that I oversee and monitor every single week. So very important part of what we do. Certifying with your councils. So if any of you all have certifications, even with multiple councils, I encourage you, if you fall in multiple diversity statuses, to be certified with any and all councils that you can be, and maintain, current information with your councils, making sure that they have the proper contact information of who a representative is, website information, phone numbers, an updated description of services or core competencies. Things might change over time, making sure that that most accurate information. And then any profile information you have with Dylan or Allie, making sure that they have the most up-to-date information so that if I do reach out to them, they're able to share that information back with me, right? And I want to make sure that they're working from a really good list. And last up, closing us out, is just how to contact us or if you have any questions. So I've put down the email address of the vendor management team. That's the team that works under me. And then following us on any of the social media pages, or again, registering with us. That's just different ways to reach out to us. And I encourage you all to do those. And with that about wraps us up. I'm happy to take questions. And I'll pass it over. Dylan, if you have anything you wanted to share.
I just put those links in the chat so you guys can see those and hopefully click them, or at least copy them. And then thank you so much for your presentation. This was actually great to learn more about you guys. And I love the old post office. I've had many events there actually.
Yes.
Back in July 2020 was when I did a first event there. It was a hybrid and it was a nightmare. So I'm so glad that we don't have two audiences today. But we're gonna definitely.
And I think it was last year's winter soiree was here, I believe.
Yes, the 25th anniversary was in the on the events floor. Yeah.
It was, yeah. And this year we had a holiday party for the company. We finally had our own party, right? So as an employee, as a tenant of the building, I leave, especially this time of the year, when I leave work, I see all these setups, I see bands playing. It's like I transform into this whole different space. You know, there's like wall or like floor to ceiling drapery sometimes, all sorts of stuff that you can see. It's amazing what they transform this space into. And a lot of times I walk out and I'm like, I just want to get to the train to go home. But last 10 days ago, earlier this month, we had our own party. So I was really excited. It's like, all right, it's our turn now.
Awesome. It's a great space. And I had an event in the vault as well, which is like the
okay, yes,
like the nice one on the river.
Look at you. Yes.
We used to do events for event planners, so they would work with us to showcase the events to event planners. So like I did all the fun photo booths, like games and catering packages.
It is. It's a fun space, a lot of history here. And we are fortunate to occupy a little bit over 132,000 square feet here. So
are they still doing the food court? And then I'll end it there.
Yeah, from here on, it's called From Here On. Okay. And it is open. I think maybe 1 or 2 vacant spots, but there's regular restaurants that are there all the time. I don't know if anyone has spent any time, or I encourage you to take a look and search From Here On, Old Post Office, and you'll hear a little bit about it. But it's all local restaurants where it's like one location of, so you're most likely supporting a family business, right? A smaller organization. You're not going to see, although I love it, Chick-fil-A, right? You're not going to see a big restaurant like that, or Shake Shack or something like that. They're all small, individual, local places, all sorts of food, from salads to chicken to Tuesday tacos, and donuts and everything in between. So it's great. But yeah, and that's open to the public, so people are able to come on by.
Well, I will definitely stop by. We can grab lunch there. Or somewhere cooler. I know that Willis Tower has a bunch of stuff at the bottom too now.
It does, yes.
So thank you so much, Monica. We're about 2 minutes over 2:30. We're gonna wrap up the recording, put it on. Okay. I think YouTube. I'm assuming that's what we use, and then we'll send it to our membership as a resource, and then hopefully build some kind of kits as these go on, so that we'll have resources like yours and others like it that our members can start using and apply for. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to meeting you in the new year.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining. We hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and please stay warm and stay safe over the next couple of days. The weather reports are not looking good. So I know folks have to run errands, but you can go to the store later. Being safe is more important, and being, home with those you care about is also important. So stay safe and stay well, and thank you all for your time.